Knight, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Knight. I'm one of the co-founders of a anonymous nonprofit organization founded in Savannah, Georgia, called the Astrals, where we use very theatrical imagery to try to help people feel comfortable to come forward with their cases. And that has sort of expanded beyond Savannah a little bit, and it's how I met Amazing here. And yeah, that's pretty much me.
Yeah, we are members of what some people call the real life superhero community. However, some people do like that name. I'm not a big fan of it. How do you feel about it, Knight?
I'm not a big fan either. I've
Yeah,
spoken to, and you and I have talked about this like very, very early on when we would meet, and I think that's actually kind
yeah,
of what started the idea of even creating a podcast. But there,
hmm
there are certainly certain things of the presentation of the community and certain things that it sort of implies that I feel don't really match the mark of what people are actually doing.
sure.
Um, so I do think that for me, when I'm introducing the concept of the astrals to someone new, I never call it a real life superhero team. I
Right.
never do that because I just feel like it creates this bias in someone's mind as to what our intentions are. I just try to focus more on like the actual what we do, which is we're a nonprofit. We're kind of like a Crime Stoppers Anonymous. We help people feel comfortable. We help open and close investigations. That's really where the work is. We're not running around in these uniforms, trying to beat up criminals in alleyways and stuff like that.
I do think the whole real life superhero moniker is important to some people. For
Hmm.
instance, those who maybe have participated long before we came on the scene.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
they definitely feel a certain allegiance to it, which I can respect. However,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not really my thing. But you know,
I think really what it comes down to, just for me, like the reason why I'm a little like off put by it is, anytime someone asks me or any of the other astrals, like how do we create these relationships with law enforcement and city government and
hmm
this level of trust with our community, I just say flat out, I'm like, because we don't call ourselves real life superheroes.
yeah,
We keep it very technical. We keep it focused on what we actually do and how then I think it's easier to then leap into, we have found that it works best when we are anonymous and when we are wearing these uniforms. So
yeah,
it's sort of that acknowledgement of like, yes, this is very far out there. We know that too. But again, I,
sure.
I agree with you too, where I think everyone has their own perspective of that word and of that term for the community. So regardless, like, I'm fine with however anyone wants to call the community. For
hmm
me, I'm just in the same boat as you, where I would just think it doesn't really fit the mark of what people actually do. I'm sorry, RLSH. How about you like
CC
you rebrand yourself, bro?
costumed crusader.
Ooh,
I like that. I honestly like
ooh,
that.
I like that a lot
Some
too.
people say
CC.
costume crusader, costume activist. Basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
costume
We,
activist is always how I've kind of like
yeah.
simplified it for people. Is I would
Yeah.
always say there's a community of costume activists. I know that in your personal life you've been very very busy. I have too,
Yeah.
but like in terms of what you're willing to share with the public, what have you been up to?
Well, I suppose you could say I've been doing a lot of thinking. I haven't been of much service to anybody lately due to, like you said, I've been busy. But I hope to change that very soon. And also, we're hopefully coming out of this pandemic, so personal interaction is going to get a lot easier. One of my favorite things, for those of you who don't know, to do in the past was to go around and in my costume and hand out supplies to those who don't have anywhere to sleep at night. There's a lot of that in Ann Arbor, so it's definitely sorely needed. I see people's faces light up. It's a lot of fun. I know the Astrals, though, have been very, very busy. Um, you guys have a lot to catch everyone up on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's nice of you to say that we've been busy because I mean, honestly, like you, I mean, COVID really hit us hard too. I
Mhm,
mean, I was away from Savannah for a few months during the pandemic to check on family and everything.
mhm.
And when you can't meet with people and everything has to be done online, it does kind of feel hard to think like, are we actually doing anything?
Yeah.
How can we get involved if we're not able to physically get involved? But we were trying to be very persistent and resilient because we had plans of things that we wanted to do and accomplish before the pandemic happened. So
Mhm.
we were still trying to see if we could accomplish some of those goals completely virtual. And honestly, I think the silver lining with that is that it got us connected with some very interesting people that have been incredibly helpful and supportive and wanting us to bug them with updates as to what's going on with some of the cases that we're working on. One of the things that we wanted to accomplish was a press conference about a case that we've been very passionate about for the last few years.
That's right.
And over the course of the pandemic, I got in touch with some more members of Savannah City Council and city government, and about a few weeks ago, like literally, it was the first week that I got back to Savannah officially. We did a press conference with Discordia and Reflex, and we did a press conference with Savannah City Council and the director of Savannah Rape Crisis Center to sort of talk about other resources for survivors of sexual assaults and rapes.
Mhm.
And that was a crazy time because up until that point, anytime someone wanted to highlight us or what we do, it's always seemed a little bit more on the camp side of just focusing on the fact of, hey, there's these guys that are dressed up and yada yada.
Mhm.
But for me, I think this was so big for us because we were now seen as the same level of a resource as a rape crisis center
Mhm.
or just any members of Savannah city government. Like them acknowledging us as a resource that people could go to was crazy, and it was
Mhm.
big, and it was kind of weird seeing all these different articles and news videos come out where we were kind of quoted and things like that, and it was weird.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was really kind of surreal, and now there's some other things that I got to do tomorrow regarding the same case, and
Mhm.
I'm really really excited to kind of see where that turns out because I think it could be a really good step forward for not just the case but for the team at large.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing that press conference, and I had been away from our lines of communication for a while, and I just kind of came back, and you informed me that it was happening, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy!" Like, I honestly, it would have been fun to be there, to see everybody in person.
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad considering there wasn't much use I could have been, but it was nice to see that you guys actually did that. For those of you who are unaware, Reflex is another founding member of the Savannah
Mhm.
Astrals, the first and main branch, and Discordia is the founder of the Chattanooga, Tennessee branch.
There was a couple of reporters that wanted our information and stuff, so that was
Yeah.
interesting. And yeah, it was a crazy day in general to kind of see the response from people as well when they would see the press conference on Facebook and on other forums and stuff like that, and the
Mhm.
shares and everything. It was okay. Oh, it was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is getting bigger, and there has always been interest in the last few years of sort of a documentary about the team and about the real life superhero community. I mean,
Mhm.
someone named Jay Aubrey on YouTube just did a video essay on the Phoenix Jones story and a little bit
Mhm.
on the RLSH community in general. And he
Yeah.
has a subscriber base, I think, was like over 650,000 or something.
Mhm.
Um, so that was kind of neat to see, and even though the focus was on Phoenix, but um, the level of transparency that people were wanting in the past was more on the cases themselves, and we just kind of felt that that was very
Right.
like it would sort of break the trust of people that are reaching out to us. But now they were actually catching wind a little bit more on one specific case that we have been trying to expose for a while and try to get
Mhm.
traction on. So there is this, uh, possibility because I've been talking to these producers and stuff of a documentary about the case and sort of our involvement in it as a way to hopefully encourage people to come forward and to testify. And people that have worked with Warner Brothers and like New Line Cinema and stuff like that. So they're
Mhm.
experienced and they want to do a video call tomorrow, so I got to do that and answer like any questions that they have and just kind of see if they're serious about pursuing this because I've basically been talking to them through their agents, like for like the last 2 to 3 weeks now. So now it's like, okay. I feel like the format that they're wanting to go with is sort of like the Netflix style of docs, where it's like a 7 episode miniseries
Yeah,
that like turns into like essentially a 7 hour documentary. And
like Tiger
I
King.
yeah, sort of like Tiger King. Yeah. Oh God.
Get
But
ready.
oh Jesus Christ. uh, yeah, I hate that woman so much, man. I'm gonna dress up in a costume and I'm gonna go fight her. Yeah.
Yep.
My name's Knight.
Don't quote him.
Welcome to Mask and Mask podcast. Oh my.
My
Oh
goodness.
no, we have an online show just like Joe Exotic did.
Yeah, we do. I
No.
mean, we are him, man.
No.
Except
We are.
for hopefully
We
the
are.
bad part.
We are the exotic.
Aren't we all a little exotic? On the
We
inside?
aren't we all just a little Joe Exotic?
And I mean, and everyone, you heard it here first. Warner Brothers. They won't release this. They won't release the Snyderverse, but they'll do this, I guess.
They'll be like, okay, how about our next cinematic universe is literally our universe?
Oh, brother. But yeah, we already have a bunch of movies like that. They're called historical
Yes.
fiction.
Yes, technically, every
Yeah.
based on a true story film is in the same universe.
Yeah, which is a lot of horror movies, unfortunately.
And then maybe a couple of musician films.
Yeah, definitely.
Could you imagine
And
if they
space
get
movies. Space movies
Yes.
too.
Could you imagine if they get Taron Egerton from Rocket Man to cross over with Rami Malek's Freddie Mercury?
Dude. It's a real cinematic universe. Right
It's
there.
a Bohemian Rhapsody Rocket Man crossover, aka them actually meeting in real life. What are some of your like future plans, kind of like going forward? Since now it seems like the world is starting to get a little bit back to normal. I mean, mask mandates and social distancing mandates have been ended here in Georgia.
First of all, I've got the vaccine. Have you got the vaccine?
I got the vaccine. I got it. I was double dosed.
Yeah, me too. Double
Right
dose.
on, baby. Double V's, baby.
Yeah, so I just want to stress to everybody. I mean, I endorse the vaccines. I think everybody should get them. It's very important.
Agree.
We need to reach 70%, 70% fully vaccinated at the very least of the whole population of the United States in order to curb this. That's to reach herd immunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think even if someone is not keen on the vaccine for themselves, I think you should still get it to just help other people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And help
Yeah.
get us to that that statistic, that percentage to at least get us back to a normal world. You can suck it up. It doesn't even feel like the flu vaccine. It's like very like thin, and I didn't even feel it. Like it's fine.
You're talking about the needle? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'm talking about the needle too, because I know
the
some
needle.
people are
The
like,
needle was very thin. Yeah. It did, however, knock me out for like a whole day.
The first one got
but-
me worse than the second one.
Well, that was opposite for me, but that's interesting.
Yeah, like I was crashing on Reflex's couch when I like moved back in, and I got the first vaccine, and I just stayed on his couch all day. And then the second vaccine I got when I moved into my new apartment, and I had already like taken off work and everything, because I was like, listen, it's probably gonna hit me even worse, and yada yada. But then I was just like sitting in bed, like showering and like ordering food and like playing video games, and I was like, wow, I'm actually doing A-okay. Like now I just have a day off. Wonderful.
You know how people will be like real life supervillains to be contrarian. You know how people do that. It's so funny.
I gotta admit, I do laugh at the ones that are like just doing it to make fun of the community, because I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
that's
no,
funny.
they're funny. They're
Yeah,
funny.
that's funny. But people that like legitimately believe that there could be like real life supervillains, I was like, do you
Yeah.
understand like the level of like
Understand what it means to be a bad guy. It means
Yeah.
you're a bad
it's like
person.
it's like, so you mean a terrorist, right? Like
yeah,
that's what you mean.
should
like,
be in jail if you
yeah,
do
you should be
crime.
in prison. Kids, if you ever watch a show called Breaking Bad, note that it's a anti, drug dealing, drug cooking PSA. Essentially, do not
Exactly.
idolize Walter White.
Don't do. I did that. Don't do it.
No.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't do that.
Okay,
I'm
thank
not cringe.
God.
I didn't do it. I've never actually seen Breaking Bad.
Oh my God, I think you would have liked it. It's actually very good.
You know what? Everyone tells that to me. But anyway,
I think you would also. I will just say, okay, now we're getting to Knight's TV movie recommendation section.
oh my goodness, yeah. We
I
need a. I
think
should have. I should have put a thing for that on the. Anyway.
I think another show that you'd really like that my girlfriend finished watching just now and she cried at the end is Mr.
You heard
Robot.
it here first, folks. Knight has a girlfriend.
She goes to another school.
Yes, I'm
I
happily.
mean, I might too. I might too, but I don't. I'm not gonna brag about it.
Hey,
I'm not gonna brag about it.
She it's really yeah. She watched Mr. Robot. And
I've
cried
heard
at
it's
the end.
good.
Mr. Robot, I always recommend for people because I think one, don't look up anything about it, but two, I always like shows where you know that they planned it out from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And the creator of the show is the only director and writer of every episode because he originally was planning on making the show a movie, but then had so many ideas that he just turned it into a show. So he had everything outlined from like the first episode.
Wow.
And when you rewatch it, it really does show. So I love that show to death because it's just so stylistic. It's so different. It's you think it's going to be one show, but then halfway through season one, you realize, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be at all. And then even in the final episode, you're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be at all. Like it's just, it's a brilliant, brilliant show. And my girl cried. She bawled, and I was like, good, it did its job. It did its job.
What's it called? Sesame Street?
Yeah, Sesame Street. The main character, Elmo, is a vigilante hacker who does drugs on Sesame Street, and Big Bird is a giant bad guy, a villain of sorts, who sells crystal meth. Who sells crystal meth?
Crystal meth.
Crystal mouth.
Okay, yeah, this whole part's getting cut out for you too.
No,
anyway,
this is, no.
Anyway, they can listen to it on Spotify.
On Spotify.
I feel like 90% of this is you saying things and me saying anyway. Anyway.
Yeah. Anywho.
So you heard it here first. Watch Mr. Robot, I guess. But you asked about my future plans, and then I started talking about the vaccine, which is not a future plan, a past plan. I already had the vaccine. I definitely want to get more into this sort of long form video. I don't want to say storytelling, but video. I mean, I'm inspired by science creators like Vsauce and Veritasium. And they do a really good
amazing here.
Anyway, they do a great job explaining a concept sort of from start to finish. And I want to do that for the sort of things that I build. For instance, I've had a fair amount of training in science and engineering. I have at least one degree, if you're willing to believe that. But I want to, post videos on, this, so I've built web shooters in the past, but I want to say, okay, so what can we do to make this better? What do we actually want this to be? And that's the engineering side. And then the how becomes the science side, going into fluid dynamics, pressurized systems, adhesiveness, cohesiveness, the works, how to achieve a liquid to solid transition that's required, that sort of thing. That's one of my big videos that's coming out for sure, talking about that sort of science side.
That's awesome. That's the stuff that always intrigues me too. Whenever you and I talk about what you're working on and everything, it's just that type of stuff,
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people too, like it's gonna be really cool to kind of see what actual applications that type of stuff could have. Because I mean, like you and I were talking about earlier, like with the fact that this community is kind of growing into being taken like more and more seriously by real officials and everything. I mean, what if you like patented something and then it became used for a real self-defense item?
Every day, more people are coming out with new videos on building stuff that I like to build. My stuff doesn't get as much traction, but that's just could be because I don't post as often. But I hope to sort of change that a little bit because I want to make better quality videos. I want to really communicate with people. I have a merch store up. This is sort of the first time I'm promoting it, but you can find it on my YouTube channel, and but that's sort of all of this stuff in order to kind of get more exposure on YouTube is not. It's not. I mean, maybe it is. I don't think it is self-serving, because the main thing that I want to do is sort of fund my astral operation here
Hmm.
in Ann Arbor and then wherever I might go, in such a way such that it can, number one, pay for itself. I can get better equipment. I can fund sort of retreats for astrals to go places. Essentially, my plan is for the next year to sort of really put a lot into this YouTube channel to make, uh, videos about science and engineering, but also videos with you and the other astrals in
Yeah.
order to promote good causes and the community at large, in order to sort of fund like a laboratory that I plan
Right.
on establishing. That's my plan, to sort of fund this laboratory, make it self-sustaining, get all sorts of engineering equipment, get like a brain trust of other people in this spider build community, like the
That
blood
is
spider and the
so,
human spider.
dude. That is so cool. Like,
That's the thing about science, like you can't do it alone.
right. But that is so
And
cool to have like the first sort of like RLSH laboratory.
yeah, I mean, essentially, that's what I aim it to be. You have channels like the Hacksmith who do, fun builds, and I don't want to say fun. They're severely impressive.
Right.
Impressive equipment.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, that's just my plan to sort of, just sort of be on the come up. Also with my videos, my technical videos, sort of raise confidence in people that I can achieve the things that they expect me to
Right.
achieve.
I think in a similar front, like a lot of my ideas have been like,
Hmm.
I mean, I have been kind of looking for a possible office for the team,
Hmm.
like an actual real location that
Hmm.
that people could actually go to us and feel safe and comfortable instead of meeting up in public areas and everything. With the possibility of this documentary and that level of exposure of the team and stuff, there
Hmm.
are ideas that I've had of videos on the Astrals YouTube channel as well. Because
Yeah.
we technically have an account
Yeah.
because we have a Gmail, but like I've just never really known what to upload there. And I
Hmm.
feel like that should be the place where potentially there's more transparency of who we are as people. And if God forbid, if like my identity has to be public and everything,
Yeah.
I'm also trying to focus on other things that I could do regularly on other platforms to have people get a better familiarity with myself and everyone else to feel
Right.
more comfortable just with us as people, not
Hmm.
just the identities that they know us of through the team and everything. So just that kind of thing, like the
Yeah.
public, sort of like the PR sort of is what I'm kind
Yeah.
of focusing on for this year.
It's not the part that I enjoy, but I'm doing the same thing. Yeah, just
Yeah.
PR, I guess. And that's what you got to do in order to make a self-sustaining operation, I
Yeah, I
suppose.
mean, I was dabbling with some stuff during this quarantine because I had time to do so, and actually
Hmm.
Twitch was the one thing where I,
Oh.
I I was already starting to get a little bit of an audience personally, and
Hmm.
like just people that were like always watching the streams, and
Yeah.
it was that sort of interaction that made me kind of go, well, like I should keep this up so that if and when my identity comes out, this could be something
Hmm.
that I do where I could then interact with people who may
Yeah.
know me just from this team and give them again a better feel for what I'm like, and thus they would then think that we're all kind of the same way, which we are. So
Hmm.
again,
Yeah.
like you were just saying, PR is like the big thing.
It's good that we're sort of on the same track for this next year. And in
Yeah.
terms of my channel, I would like to. I have it written here from before. Make a sort of all-encompassing video about the Astrals to sort of serve as a sequel to what I had made a couple of years ago
Right.
to
Right.
introduce and sort of increase some exposure. Um, but yeah, and so that's could use clips from the podcast, but it would be great to get interviews from you and like all the members,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But that would probably be more towards the end of the year, especially since I'm sure, no pressure, that you guys are got some cool stuff
Oh
cooking.
no, I mean, they're down for literally anything now.
I mean, you talked about your plans for the team, but are there
Mhm.
any all-encompassing team plans?
There
Uh,
is something all encompassing that we're doing.
mhm.
Essentially, we're kind of putting a lot of our different resources together to finally close one of the biggest cases that we've ever done, that we've been working on
Right.
for the last few years. And there was
Hmm.
another case that I found that there's no time limit on it or anything like that, but it is sort of a classic mystery here in Savannah that I feel honestly, I do feel for the sake of the team's mental health. I think after dealing with a case that was so um, dealing with such heavy subjects
Yeah.
and stuff that was very personal for all of us.
Hmm.
It's another case that is very big in scale, but at the same time would be a more fun process to investigate for our next big case after this.
Hmm.
And all I'm going to say is that there may or may not be a missing nuclear bomb in Savannah. Um,
Right.
it is a 60-year-old mystery here in town, and I'm kind of waiting to tell the guys about it and everything. But I've been doing my own research on it, and there certainly is a level of uncomfortableness that people have with the idea that there could be a live, possibly
Hmm.
live, if not like a real bomb, like on the shores of the local beach here. So it's
Yeah.
sort of that classic, is it really a real bomb? Was it a
Hmm.
dud? So for us, my goal is to try to look into it a little bit more and then make a public statement and really, close the book for good and be like, listen, it is or it isn't. And if it is, here's what's going to be done. If it wasn't, you can sleep comfortably at night.
Well,
Um,
that's all fun and games until it turns out to be true, right?
yeah, and then we have Dark Knight Rises all over again.
Oh my goodness. There we go with the movies.
I'm telling you, man, I'm your guy.
I'm excited to be doing this with you again, dude. Yeah, for those of
Yeah,
you who
dude,
don't
I'm
know,
I'm really excited.
We did this on YouTube a little bit a couple of years ago, but you know, we didn't really have the format right. We kind of goofed off too much, which is difficult to do with this guy. Difficult to not goof off, as you probably have been made aware by this episode.
Yes.
But
I
yeah.
know that there's definitely going to be an audience that's listening to this because I remember the YouTube days. I
Mhm.
remember the types of people that were listening.
Yeah.
I just hope that that they do
Take
really
what we
listen
say to heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very excited to continue to do this. And do you want to share your socials for everyone to follow you?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, you can find me on Instagram at the.amazing.labs. And I'm sure the Astrals have some socials they would like to plug as well.
Yes, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We also do have a Twitter, but to be honest, we don't really use that much. But I feel like here soon we might have a reason to start using it. So if you want to follow us there too, that's fine. But really, if you just look up the Astrals Savannah, you will find our social medias on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Awesome. Wow, Facebook. You're so old. So by the way, I mean, I sort of forgot this, but if you'd like to support my engineering exploits, my build
Yes.
projects, you can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/theamazing. Just quick and simple. So that money will also go towards my build projects, but also towards my funding of like I said, supplies to hand out to the homeless. And towards the Astrals exploits at large, because I'm a generous fellow and I like to support my friend. So, yeah, that's I think that's about it. Thanks everyone for listening. That's the inaugural episode of the Mask to Mask podcast.
We did it.
We did it. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.